want to see. Call 387-2323.
LA filing number 16-7969.
WNXX, Jackson, KNXX, Donaldsonville, and WDGL HD2 Baton Rouge. This hour brought to you by Spencer Callahan Injury Lawyers, LA 21-12681. Offices in Baton Rouge. Now, The Hunt Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this rainy, wet Friday. It means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Jordan Kitchens and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. Appreciate you winding down the work week with us here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We got a ton to get to here. Preston Guy talking Tiger football in 15 minutes. Chris Demouy will look at LSU and Texas A&M this evening and over the weekend. What do we think about recruiting in the transfer portal era, in the NIL era? I want to talk a little bit about that. Ryan Broniger is going to come aboard in the second hour. He covers A&M baseball for Texags, and he will join us, talk about this number one ranked team in the country. So you'll hear my thoughts on it here now. You'll hear Chris Demouy's thoughts in 30 minutes and Ryan Broniger's in an hour and 15 minutes. And the Saints have declined to pick up Peyton Turner's fifth-year option. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on today. You know, a lot of times I sit here on Fridays and I stare at these panels behind me if you're watching on YouTube, and I get very, very hungry because they've got delicious catfish and French fries and hush puppies and rolls and shrimp. I'm not today because I just ate a ton of Corks, so I'm satisfied. I'm full. It was delicious. And I don't have to be distracted for 2 hours staring at these panels with this delicious food. But if you haven't gotten some Corks today, highly recommend you get on by there and check them out on Government Street between Foster and Jefferson. All right, let's talk about LSU and Texas A&M. If you were listening yesterday, I talked about Texas A&M's starting rotation. And I told you that I don't think it's great. And I sit here today and I don't think it's great. Now, Texas A&M's team is excellent. It's a great baseball team. I think their fatal flaw may be that starting rotation, but they've got enough around it to camouflage it when things get a little rocky. They're not always rocky, but things do get rocky at times. This is the number one team in the country in the RPI and the number one team in the country by the polls for a reason. They're 39-6, 15-6 in league play. They have not lost a non-conference game all year. This is their best overall start since 1993 at A&M, and it's their best SEC start since they entered the league back in 2012. The reason why this team is so good is because of its offense and its bullpen. I'll talk to you about the offense first. When you look at just SEC numbers, I don't care what you did in February when everybody was playing awful teams. I care about not what you're doing on Tuesdays, what you do on the weekend against the league. And A&M in league play is hitting .301. That is third best in the Southeastern Conference. They have scored the most runs in league games thus far. They average 8.7 runs per game in league play. They are third in doubles in SEC play, second in home runs to just behind Tennessee. They're third in walks. They're third in stolen bases as well. That's a very rounded offense. They steal bases, they hit doubles, they hit home runs, they hit for average, they score the most. They're very, very good offensively in that way. Only 5 teams in the league have struck out more than them. There is a little bit of swing and miss, and LSU has done a very good job of striking batters out this year, so maybe that's something that LSU can lean on a little bit. But this is a very, very, very good offensive A&M team, and it's led by 3 players at the top. It's Gavin Grahovic, who's a freshman right-handed hitter who has hit leadoff most of the year, and he's hitting in the most comfortable place in college baseball right now because he's hitting in front of 2 of the top 5 hitters in the SEC. I mean, Charlie Condon's certainly in that conversation. Christian Moore certainly in that conversation. Tommy White certainly in that conversation. Jack Caglione certainly in that conversation. But I think Jace Laviolette and Braden Montgomery are very much in that conversation as well as top hitters in the SEC. Laviolette is hitting .298 in league games with 9 home runs. To put that in perspective, that would have been fourth best on LSU's team last year in league games. Cruz hit better than that. White hit better than that. Jobert actually hit a little bit better than that in terms of batting average at .298. It would have been fourth on LSU's team last year. It is seventh for this Texas A&M team. That's how good they've been in league play in terms of batting average. He's got 9 SEC home runs, as I mentioned. Tommy White hit 10 last year. It's a really good number. He's left-handed. He was once committed to LSU. Nolan Cain left to go to Texas A&M. He followed Nolan Cain there. He is a force in the 2-hole. And Braden Montgomery has been better. Braden Montgomery transfer in from Stanford, and this goes back to my kind of thoughts that college baseball is becoming so regional because Jacob Berry's leaving to come here, and Thatcher Hurd's leaving to come here, and Gage Jump's leaving to come here, and Braden Montgomery left Stanford where he was their best player, and now he's A&M's best player. Christian Moore and Charlie Condon have hit 14 home runs in SEC games thus far. Braden Montgomery's one behind them at 13. He's hitting .370 in league games, and he leads the SEC with 33 runs driven in 21 league games. 33 RBI in 21 league games. I was watching the highlights of their Game 1 win over Vanderbilt a couple of weeks ago, and he homered in the first inning. It went a mile to right field, and he homered again in the third inning. It went off the batter's eye in center field. He is fantastic. And so it's Grahovic, Laviolette, Montgomery, 1, 2, 3 in that lineup. For Gage Jump tonight, it is just so important, in my opinion, to get through that first inning unscathed. You can give up a hit, give up a double here, but don't give up a 2-run homer in the first inning. Don't let them set the tone for the weekend with their 3 best hitters. Now, Grahovic's right-handed, but Montgomery and Laviolette are left-handed, and Jump, of course, is left-handed. Hopefully, that gives him a little bit of advantage against those 2 guys and a little bit of an advantage in holding the A&M run game in check as a left-handed pitcher. If you can neutralize Montgomery and Laviolette and don't let them run, they're still plenty capable of beating you 4 through 9, but that's the head of the snake. That's what you've got to do if you're Gage Jump tonight. We know that Gage Jump has been excellent against bad teams the last 2 weeks. Over the last 2 weeks, 14 innings pitched, just 1 run allowed, 20 strikeouts, 1 walk. He's been excellent. The question is he, because he's now pitched more innings, because he's more comfortable at the college level, his talent's shining through, and he's going to become a really good pitcher for LSU over the last month here? Or is it Missouri and Auburn can't hit their way out of a wet paper sack? My gut tells me it's a little of both, and exactly what you did against Auburn probably doesn't work exactly as well against Texas A&M, but it's not a stuff issue. 93, 95, good breaking ball, got to locate, and can't walk guys. A&M's going to get theirs offensively. They're going to hit some home runs. They're going to hit some doubles. They're going to score. You don't need to help them by walking people. Don't do that. Big, big key for Gage Jump tonight. Make them earn everything they get offensively. Now, I told you yesterday that I didn't think their starting rotation was phenomenal. I thought their offense was. Their fielding percentage is number 1 in the SEC, which is great, obviously. And then it's the bullpen. And the first name that you'll see out of the A&M bullpen, likely, if they've got a lead, is Evan Oschenbeck. And when you think about a dominant reliever, which Oschenbeck has now been for almost 2 full seasons in league play, even in last year's A&M team, it wasn't that good. He was great. You think of some of the guys you saw from Arkansas. You think of some of the guys you've seen from Vanderbilt. You think of the guys that throw 96-mile-an-hour sinkers and sharp sliders. Evan Oschenbeck doesn't do any of that. If I had to come up with a comp for Evan Oschenbeck over the years at LSU, only one really comes to mind, and it's Chris Cotton. He's left-handed. He's not that tall. He throws a ton of strikes. He throws 89 miles an hour. He's got a really good changeup, and he'll throw a slider as well. But how about this number for Evan Oschenbeck? He has pitched this year in 19 Texas A&M games. They are 18-1 when Evan Oschenbeck pitches. In the one game they lost that Evan Oschenbeck appeared in, that was Georgia this past weekend. His line in that game, 2 innings pitched, no runs on no hits. Wasn't his fault they didn't get it done. He has been phenomenal. And if you're watching on TV, if you're at the game, it's key to the moment. All the pitches kind of look the same. Can you tell if one guy's throwing 94 and one guy's throwing 90? Maybe not. But if you're at home watching the games over the weekend and Evan Oschenbeck comes in, he may drive you nuts because you're looking at the radar gun going, 88, huh? And then he'll spin that slider in there, and then he'll finesse a changeup away to the right-hander. He's just a good pitcher, and it's not a fluke because he's done it for 2 years now. And he's also very durable for them. He pitched in 2 games against Mississippi State, 2 games against Auburn, 2 games against South Carolina, 2 games against Vanderbilt, 2 games against Georgia. That's 5 times in 7 weeks that Evan Oschenbeck has been called upon in 2 different games. And as I mentioned, A&M's only lost 1 of those. You'll see Chris Cortez as well. He's the opposite of Evan Oschenbeck. He was a starter for them last year. LSU tagged him a little bit in College Station. But when he comes in, get ready for 98, 99. And he's sometimes wild. That's been his bugaboo for 2 years. Nate Yeske knows him very well. But they've kind of harnessed him this year, and he's become a force for them out of the bullpen. It's a very, very strong bullpen for A&M. And that brings me to my last point as I kind of break down this series with A&M's offense, the balance, the guys at the top of the lineup, and then you look at the bullpen. When you look at things that LSU needs to deal with this weekend, you're not talking about pitch count for the starters. I don't care what Ryan Prager's pitch count is tonight. That's irrelevant because the guy that comes in for him is every bit as good. This is not like LeBaron Johnson for Texas back in Houston where we were so excited they worked his pitch count up. This is not like Hagen Smith where you got to try to coax him out of the game after 5 innings. The bullpen's just as good as the starters. So for LSU tonight, it's not about seeing pitches and fouling them off. Like, that's great if they do it. It's fine. But you probably need to hit the starters. I gave you the numbers yesterday. You're talking about SEC RAs in the mid-4s, mid-6s, mid-8s for the guys that have been starting games for them over 7 weeks. It's not a stellar starting staff. It's a stellar bullpen, a stellar offense, and a really good defense. And that has created this run that they're on where they lost 2 out of 3 to Florida and then beat Mississippi State 2 out of 3, swept Auburn, won 2 out of 3 at South Carolina, swept Vanderbilt, won 2 out of 3 at Bama, and won 2 out of 3 against Georgia. Now, they haven't played Arkansas, and they haven't played Tennessee, and they haven't played Kentucky. So, that's part of the scheduling. They'll see Arkansas in a couple of weeks. But it's a really good team. And for LSU, it's important to get off to a good start tonight, especially in the top of the first inning against those 3 bats for A&M. And as I've said all week, it is vital that LSU find a way to get at least 1, but probably 2 this weekend. I can find you a roadmap. If you win 1 game, it's a really tough road. You win 2 games this weekend, I can start to manage expectations and suggest that they can get into the NCAA tournament. But it has to start tonight, and they've got to get it done over the next 72 hours. Huge, huge weekend for LSU. Not a huge weekend for A&M, but a huge weekend for LSU. I am so excited to be on the call tomorrow with Chris Blair, as well as Sunday. Hopefully, we're looking to try to win a series tomorrow when I grab the headset, but we'll just have to see. First pitch tonight from the box. 7 o'clock, I believe, over on ESPN at 2 if you want to listen to it. 6:30 on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. It'll be Chris Blair and Doug Thompson on the call this evening. Ryan Broniger will give us the A&M side of things coming up in 1 hour from right now. Demouy in 15 minutes talking about LSU. When we come back, LSU's swinging and missing in the transfer portal as far as defensive tackle goes. What does Preston Guy think about it? That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com. How are you supposed to listen to me on the call on Saturday, which is obviously the highlight of your weekend, if you don't have an incredible sound system that's wired into your home? Well, you can't. You can just listen on your phone. That's no good. Mitchell Fisher and the team at Audio Video Security Solutions can get you hooked up from an audio perspective, and you can listen to a lot better things than me on the call of a baseball game. We love to cook in our kitchen with tunes that are on. If my wife's cooking, it's going to be Taylor Swift 100 times out of 100. If I'm cooking, we might get something better, like some country music or some 90s hits by the Goo Goo Dolls or something. That's what we like, and we do it because of the folks over at Audio Video Security Solutions that hooked us up when we moved into our new home. Check them out on Instagram, AVSS_BR. That's AVSS_BR on Instagram. They can show you some of the awesome things that they can do for you, and we always invite you to check out their website. It's a great website, very functional, and you can request a consultation with them up there on the website. It's AVSSLA.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always...
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Rico Payton, Saints rookie, he'll be here. Get you set for LSU, Texas A&M at the box, and it's transfer portal decision day for some big targets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Chris Demouy coming up in 15 minutes talking LSU and Texas A&M baseball. Let's chat a little about football now, and to do it, we'll bring on our guy, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, with us every Friday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, how are you?
Hey, hon, how's it going?
It's going all right because I don't have to recruit defensive tackles, so I'm doing okay, but there are folks that are tasked with that in LSU's building that aren't doing perfectly at the moment. How nervous are you?
It's on Dominic Williams yesterday, and, I mean, they rolled out the red carpet for this kid. I mean, we could see videos of them at the supper club. Blake Baker and Bo Davis were all over him. I mean, they really wanted this kid. We're talking about the best defensive tackle in the portal. We're talking about a proven Power 5 contributor, and one of 3 defensive tackles they're recruiting that they look at as future NFL players. So you strike out on one, and that wasn't ideal because, of the big names you're recruiting, you were probably most likely to land Dominic Williams. So you are getting a little bit nervous is the answer here at that spot. Where do you go from here? Well, Simeon Barrow is a kid who visited you 2 weeks ago, and you felt really good when he left campus. That is until he turned around the very next day and booked a trip to Miami, where I'm told Miami has done an incredible job. They have a robust NIL package ready for him, and I'm told Miami's the favorite at this point for Simeon Barrow. That's the defensive tackle out of Michigan State. So LSU's got to look some other places. C.J. West is a third name who people look at as an NFL player. That's defensive tackle out of Kent State, a guy who's looking to step up into Power 5 football. The big knock on him, why coaches prefer the other two, is he's a guy who won't be able to get on campus until he graduates in August. So, LSU would love to have both of those guys, if not just one of them, would make you feel a lot better about your defensive tackle spot. That being said, if you don't hit on any of those guys, you're going to have to start looking into a new batch of players. I mean, you're going to have to bring in someone at defensive tackle because you're super thin and not a depth piece either. You need a guy who can come in and who's ready to play.
What if they don't?
If they don't, here's how your defensive tackle spot looks right now. You've got, Jacobian Guillory, who's been around for a hot minute, and that's one guy you feel good about, particularly against the run. Outside of him, you really don't feel good about any of these guys. Jalen Lee, who will be your other starter, a guy who hasn't really cracked the lineup at Florida or LSU, and, frankly, it's looking like, he's not the kind of caliber player that, or at least that's what it projects out to be right now, that, is an all SEC type guy, future NFL guy. You're gonna have some problems there. You've got Dominic McKinley coming in, 5-star defensive tackle, freshman out of Acadiana High School, and I'm sure he's, very talented, but this isn't a position where you typically have a true freshman you plug and play. I mean, these are positions, those kind of guys are very rare simply because you gotta have the muscle mass. You gotta be ready to go. Gio Paez is another guy who is transferring from Wisconsin, where they ran a different front, and you do feel good about bringing him in. He has some experience. He's a solid player. He's going to have to learn to play a true defensive tackle instead of a 3-4 defensive end. But he is there. You've also got Sean Washington, the JUCO defensive tackle who transferred out of Georgia after not doing much there. He'll provide some depth for you. We'll see where he goes. And then you're talking about, young guys like Ahmad Bro, who you're going to have to put 30 pounds on to get ready to play. LSU's not in a great spot at defensive tackle for this season. I think a lot of these guys can develop into good players eventually. I think you've got one guy you feel really good about who's ready to play SEC football today. So there's not a ton of SEC-ready defensive tackles, even in this day of the age of the transfer portal where 3,000 people are transferring. Not very many of them are SEC-ready defensive tackles. So when I tell you there's 3 guys who are future NFL players, you really need to hit on one of them if you want to have that spot the way you want to go. And right now it's not looking too great on that front.
If they don't, I mean, what is in terms of wins and losses, what does that change for your prognostication of the fall?
I think that could cause a lot of problems for this defense. Looking at the schedule, it is an easier schedule this year. You still got Ole Miss. You still got Alabama, although you have Alabama without Nick Saban and 39 of his players in the transfer portal. And, you've got USC and UCLA who are both programs. Looks like, Lincoln Riley at USC just went 7-5 and then lost the number 1 pick in the draft and a receiver. They lost Jerry Rice's son. So they're replacing a lot of talent. And then UCLA has a whole new coach after Chip Kelly decided, I'm going to go call plays at Ohio State instead of being a head coach. So you got 2 kind of rebuilding programs that weren't great to begin with last year. So that schedule that looked really nasty, it's more doable. But Hunt, I think a defensive tackle, a quality SEC NFL player, could mean the difference between, a whole win or loss, in my opinion. Right now, I'm kind of at 8-4, 9-3-ish for this team right now, even with an easier schedule.
What do you think about LSU's NIL situation when it comes to recruiting? I know that's not supposed to be the name of the game, but we all know that it is. What's your read on that from afar?
Well, I hear LSU does have good money in these situations, right? And I hear this year for the transfer portal NIL situation, they're doing better than they were a year ago, because a lot of the funds from a year ago, they missed on guys from Keon Coleman and such a year ago, and those funds were available. But what I'm really hearing is that LSU's got a lot of this NIL money tied up in this 25 class, and they're not willing to blow up this incredible 2025 class for the sake of bringing in a one-year rental player, who may or may not be the impact player that you want him to be at LSU anyways. You can bring in guys who look as surefire as you could possibly think of to bring in and think they're going to be an instant impact player. And, sometimes they just don't pan out just because of whatever reason, not environment, circumstance, coaching. So I don't think they're willing to nuke this recruiting class to get a good defensive tackle. But that being said, they have decent money for these players. I think the real problem is the entire country, particularly in the SEC, all of these programs are in desperate need of a future NFL defensive tackle. And I think that the NIL packages these teams are putting together are very, very, very strong to where you'd have to really overpay to get a guy.
Do you think there's another position, another player they may look at that's not a defensive tackle, because they are a couple under the scholarship limit at this point?
Yeah, they Deshaun Jones is a guy out of trying to remember the school he's out of, but anyway, Deshaun Jones, Wake Forest cornerback, is a guy that they've reached out to. I think that they're looking for a quality corner, not just a body. They have bodies at corner. They're looking for a guy who can push to start at cornerback. So watch out for that. As things go on, they have 81 scholarship players coming to fall. So that's 4 open spots that they have. Honestly, I think if they could take 3 defensive linemen and a corner, they'd be fine filling those 4 spots with that. But if you're looking for spots outside of that, keep an eye at running back. You don't know what's going on with Trey Holly. Maybe they just feel the need to bring in a body at running back, or maybe even punter is what I've heard.
Preston, enjoy the weekend. We appreciate some time.
All right, Hunt. See you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com, all your LSU football content, recruiting content. He and Mike Scarborough have you covered. Got a YouTube channel of their own as well over there at Tiger Bait. Subscribe up to that. We enjoy Preston every single Friday here on The Hunt Palmer Show. We'll shift gears back to baseball. Chris Demouy is with us next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. I tell you about it every single day. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms or closets. Safety is such a big thing, especially as we or our loved ones age. And the bathroom can be a hazardous place. Let David Duvall and his team come in and help with that. They can put in non-slip floors in the bathroom. They can put in guardrails around the toilet or shower areas. They can do walk-in tubs. They can do benches in the shower, all designed to make the bathroom a safer place as loved ones or ourselves age at home. David Duvall and his team do that kind of stuff all the time. And if you tell them that the Hunt Palmer Show sent you, $1,000 off, $1,000 off of your project with One Bath and Closets, whether it's a custom closet, brand new bathroom, or something simple like a tub to shower conversion. Folks at One Bath and Closets want to help out our listeners. So just tell them you heard about you on the Hunt Palmer Show. When you get that free consultation, you can find that on the website, as well as testimonials and pictures of their great work. It's all online at onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Edgar Jones for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from the Queen Casino downtown Baton Rouge. We're recapping the weekend, LSU baseball, the NBA playoffs, and the Kentucky Derby. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Baseball breakdowns all season long, brought to you by Plucker's Wing Bar, Nicholson just south of campus. Of course, small Louisiana on Blue Bonnet. Talking some baseball now with Chris Demouy. Comes to us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline, former Tiger and national champ with us on Fridays. Chris, how we doing?
Doing good, man. The rain moved out, so
Yep.
Doing well right now.
How's your confidence level?
I don't know. It's right. It's make or break time. I think I've probably said that a couple times. It feels like, but I don't know. 50-50, I guess. You know, you just hope they show up. It's probably, you know, if you want to get in a regional and you can't get excited about this, and you're the players in that locker room, then I don't know what to tell you, because this will go a long way, I think, towards helping them get into the SEC tournament and hopefully a region.
You're oozing confidence. I love it here on this Friday. Look, they've won 2 weekends in a row. Does that help at all?
Got to. I mean, well, yeah. I mean, you got to beat Missouri and you got to beat Auburn, because those are the people you're fighting, and Ole Miss, who's coming up to get into the SEC tournament. I mean, and those two teams, when you watch them play, they're not good at all. So you would have liked to have had a sweep, in one of those series. It just didn't happen. So, I mean, 4 out of 6 was really mandatory. So you did what you had to do, but I really didn't expect anything less for a team that's fighting for a place in the postseason.
Gage Jump in his last 2 outings, 14 innings, 20 strikeouts, 1 walk, 1 run. Is something different, or is it just the opponent?
No, I feel like he's kind of gotten used to the SEC. You know, I've heard Jay talk about how he just wasn't used to, you know, maybe the non-conference fooled him a little bit. Then they go out there and they're not used to getting hit around some, so they have to make an adjustment. I think some of it has to do with Yesky a little bit. You know, the non-conference is great. And then when you get in conference, maybe you call pitches differently, you go over scouting reports differently. yeah, the talent obviously is much better in the SEC than non-conference. So I think he's just gotten used to the process and probably used to the fact that you got to execute in order to get through the lineup 2 to 3 times. You can't really take a break because, you can give up a 3 spot in a heartbeat. So I think it's just kind of a maturing process on his part, though.
Christian Little had 2 great outings on Friday and Sunday of last week against Auburn. Do you feel more differently about him today than you did a week ago?
A little bit. I still think from him, I think we've seen that in the past where he's had some good outings. It's just, can you stack good outing upon good outing, And if he has a great outing one day this weekend and a bad one, 3 out of 4, I'll take that. I was a reliever, obviously, and it's tough if they've already seen you one time for an extended period of time and they have all the scouting reports on you, and obviously he's been in the league for a little while. So, but yeah, it feels great. You think if he can figure something out, that just adds another piece to the puzzle in that bullpen.
You're going to need a lot of arms this weekend because this lineup just doesn't quit, so everybody's going to have to chip in at some point. What about Sam Dutton over the last 3 weeks?
It's he's been impressive. It's one of those things to where he's pitched. It's like his 3rd year here. I think it feels like he's been here forever, but he's pitched in small increments, and it seems like that's how Jay wants to use a lot of these guys in small increments to where the other team doesn't get an extended look at him for whatever reason. But he's really flashed. He's always had a really good curveball, but it looks like his velocity's gone up, and he's kind of added a couple of pitches to his arsenal. So he's another guy that's experienced. And once again, I think with any of these guys, besides a Herring or an Eichenhausen, Little, Lower, Guidry, Dutton, if any of those guys can get you like 5 outs, I think you'll take that pretty much every weekend at this point. 5 clean outs, not just any 5 outs, but 5 clean outs, I'll take that right now.
LSU's very left-handed, and A&M's best offense with Montgomery and Laviolette, they're both left-handed. They've got a youngster, a freshman, who's kind of broken into the lineup that's hitting the ball well from the left side as well. Does that give you any optimism that the best hitters hit from the left side and LSU's best arms outside of Holman are left-handed?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously, I don't have their splits in front of me or anything like that, but lefty on lefty is difficult. And you've seen, even with some of the good hitters in this league, to where LSU's pitching staff's handled them, and obviously they're going to have an approach. The tough thing that you don't see a lot in college is lefties throwing in against lefties just for the fear of hitting them. So it'd be nice to see if they can go in a little bit just to keep those guys from leaning out over the plate because they're so strong. Those two with Laviolette and Montgomery, they can hook a ball and get it out the ballpark. So the biggest thing to me for the pitchers is when you look at A&M stats is they walk a ton, an absolute ton. So you can't walk guys unnecessarily this weekend and then have one of those guys run the ball out the ballpark, right?
Yeah.
Where it leads to a big crooked number. So they're going to get their hits, but if you can limit the free passes and make those guys earn their way on base, which LSU's done a lot better job of lately, then I think that's going to be one of the keys this weekend.
Offensively, Brady Neal is healthy, it appears. Obviously, Larson's got his place in the lineup. So as you kind of look around at some of the moving pieces with Bingham and Milazzo, like what do you kind of think as you enter a game tonight against a left-handed pitcher who's had some good outings and some days where he's gotten lit up?
Yeah, I was thinking about this because I think the guy they face on Saturday is going to be left-handed too. So
Both of them are, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Jay's just going to go all righty. Like I know Neal's healthy, he had a good game against Grambling, but I wonder if he's just going to go, Kling, Bingham, Larson, and Larson's really the only lefty in the lineup, right? You see Milazzo, Travinsky, Jones, Braswell, Milam can switch hit, and he just goes righty heavy, and then you see a Neal or a Pearson come in off the bench at the end. Obviously, once again, I don't know the Neal and Pearson splits against lefties, but I don't know if it's been great. So I wouldn't be surprised, even though Neal's healthy, I wouldn't be surprised if you see him maybe used more as a pinch hitter in the first 2 games. But I've been wrong so many times on Jay's lineup. I just don't know at this point. But I just feel like he's going to go really, really righty heavy.
All right, let's play some hypotheticals because that's why we're here. Let's say Jump gets you through 6 1/3, and you're in a 4-4 ball game tied in the 7th inning. Are you willing to go to Herring in a tie ball game, or do you have to have the lead to go to him?
No, I guess it just depends on the feeling. I could see a Little right there, or I could see a Herring. I mean, you got to get one. You can't get swept at home. And if you think Herring's your best bet, and maybe if you keep him under a certain pitch count, which they like to do, you can bring him back on Sunday. He seems like he bounces back pretty quick. So also, I know Ackenhausen can bounce back pretty quick too. So maybe he's more of a candidate.
Depends on his health, obviously, because we don't know what his status is today.
Right. But I mean, you got to get. That's the other thing too. If you go lefty after jump, I mean, those guys just saw jump for 6 or whatever innings, the innings that you proposed to me. So I may hesitate to go into Herring right there, just because maybe you think even if you lose that one, you figure you may have a quick trigger the next day with Holman, and then you can bring in Herring to get you 70 pitches potentially. So I would probably, in your situation, I would probably not use Herring in that situation and see if Little can get you through it.
It's just it's a fascinating thing because like the worst thing you can do, based on odds, is lose a close one where you use your guys out of the bullpen. Like you'd rather get blown out and save your guys than lose one where you use your guys. But then you look at it and go, all right, we got them where we want them. Like we've got a chance to win this game. I got to use my best guys, even though I don't have a lead and the game's tied. If you're losing, it's a non-starter. But I just think that tie game situation is one that's fascinating because Jay has to manage with the entire weekend in mind while understanding how big these games are.
No, I agree with you 100%. It's that's a tough scenario that you just posed. I don't know if I have a correct answer for that. I'm sure they've probably gamed that out in coaches' meetings and stuff like that. They know who they want to go to. But I will say, and I don't know if I had another question left because of time, but to me, look, pitching has been pretty good, really good lately. But the hitters, I think the hitters are getting glossed over because they've been bad.
Yeah.
They've been below average. And I'm an ex-pitcher, so I'm going to get on the hitters a little bit here. But I did the math. They're averaging 5 runs a game in SEC play. A&M's averaging the tops in the league at like 8.5, almost 9 runs a game. So to me, the hitters have to show up this weekend. You can't strike out 30 to 40% of the time and expect to extend innings or have rallies. That's why you see a lot of solo shots. The other thing, you can't go bases loaded in the third tonight and get 1 run. Like you've got to put up 3. Or you can't go second and third, no outs, and go failed squeeze attempt, strikeout pop-up, and you don't get a run, and then all of a sudden, you don't score for another 5 innings. So to me, besides the pitchers doing their job, which they have been, the hitters have got to show up and put some runs up on the board at some point this, towards the end of the year.
And to me, it needs to be early in the game because I ran through this yesterday, and it is what it is. Ryan Prager's numbers are phenomenal if you look at the stat sheet, and I've heard a couple people do that, but he was just unhittable in the non-conference. In league play, he's got a 4.5 ERA. He's given up more than a hit an inning. That's who you're going to see tonight. And then Justin Lampkin coming up tomorrow. His ERA in league games is 6.83. He's given up 21 earned runs in 27 2/3. And a couple of his outings, like Vandy scored 4 in an inning and 2/3. Bama scored 5 in an inning and 2/3. Florida hit him around and he didn't get out of the 5th in that game. Auburn had 9 hits in 3 1/3, 4 earned runs. Like, their bullpen's really good. The starting rotation is not that good. And if LSU does not come out and hit Prager and Lampkin the first 2 days, like, your chances of winning this series are almost none. Like, that just is what it is. You have to come out of the gates against these 2 left-handed guys that have average stuff and show up, or else the book's going to be shut on this thing.
No, I agree. And it's just something to where if they're not pumped up, if they're not playing with some pride, now the roles are reversed, right? LSU was number 1 last year, defending national champions, so we all know. Now you got the number 1 team coming to your house. And look, I don't know about people listening to your broadcast or how you feel of those players, but I cannot absolutely stand A&M in any sport with made-up football rivalries and making cups. And I'm not a huge
How
fan
about
of
them
their
blowing bubbles when they score runs? It's really cool. Myers, my 2-year-old, does that in the backyard all the time.
The Colts, the cheerleaders, I'm not a fan of their head coach. I just don't like A&M for any reason whatsoever. Obviously, they weren't in the conference when I was there, so we had other rivalries who I couldn't stand, but I mean, those guys need to come out with a massive chip on the shoulder, get some type of swagger, even though maybe it's undeserved right now, but you got to defend your home turf. And look, if I had some innings left or my arm functioned, I would suit up. But, I mean, they just got to get it done because if you can try to take 2, I feel really good about Ole Miss at home. I think they'll take 2. Then you got to battle Alabama, and some of these teams are going to beat them on each other at the end of the year. So it's right there. And you get an SEC tournament, who knows what can happen, right? But you just got to get there, and it starts with this weekend. And like you said, they just got to play with some pride and play with some dog in them and just see what happens,
You think they get 2 this weekend?
Non-answer. I think they have a chance to get 2 on Sunday. Just like last weekend I told you, I think they have a chance to sweep, and then it comes to Sunday. It just feels like they lay an egg at some point in a series. They don't show up. They have no sense of urgency. It's like they roll out of bed. I know they care, but it's just so lackadaisical. And you just hope they don't lay an egg. I don't think it'll be tonight, but I don't know when that egg's going to come. I think they go into Sunday 1-1 with a chance to get 2. And you know what? Yeah, I'll say we beat the Aggies. I'll take it. I'll take the bait. We get 2 this weekend.
Love to hear it. That's Chris Demouy. Have a great weekend, man. We'll talk next week.
All right, brother. See you soon.
Former national champion Tiger Southpaw Chris Demouy. Our baseball breakdowns brought to you by Pluckers all season long. Yeah, it's interesting, and I'll say this as we get to a break here and close out the hour. You can lay an egg in one of the games this weekend. You get beat 14-1 one game this weekend, like you won't use much of your pitching. I'm not expecting you to sweep. So if you lay an egg one game this weekend, okay, you just need to play 2 really good ones. Like that's kind of the way that I look at it. I hope they play 3 great ones and win them all. If they lose, maybe it's a tight one. But you have that a little bit of wiggle room where you can lay an egg in one game this weekend as long as the other 2 are very good. We'll see. It's a tough spot, and A&M's playing with no pressure. I mentioned that situation that Jay Johnson could be in a tie game. It doesn't matter who Jim Schlossnagle throws out there because they're going to be a top 8 seed anyway unless they lose the last 9. So it doesn't really matter from where they're sitting. They're going to be in fine shape. Jay has got to make every single move correct over the next 3 days. Starts tonight at 7 o'clock inside the box. We'll take one more time out, close that hour number 1. Coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Every shot, every goal, ESPN Bet has fans covered for the biggest moments on the road to the championship. The exclusive sportsbook of ESPN is the only place to find special offers and promotions from your favorite ESPN shows and personalities throughout the playoffs. New users can get a bet reset up to $1,000 in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. So download ESPN Bet today. What a play. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700 in partnership with LeBares Lake Charles. Terms and conditions apply. See app for details.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Elevate brand visibility, ignite customer engagement with the power of radio and digital advertising combined. Guarantee Digital Media brings the 2 together as a trusted media partner in Louisiana for nearly a century. Claim your free digital audit at guaranteemedia.com.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. it's never crowded.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Rico Payton, Saints rookie, he'll be here. Get you set for LSU Texas A&M at the box, and it's transfer portal decision day for some big targets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
All right, let's close up hour number 1 here with just a thought from a CBS Sports article by Brandon Marcello talking about bowl games. And we understand that bowl games have become an absolute joke, if I'm being honest, and a joke. Florida State had 33 players opt out of the Orange Bowl, and they got beat by 60. Players just aren't playing in them. We saw basically nobody show up in purple and gold in the Texas Bowl 3 years ago. The following year, you show up against Purdue, they don't have a team. Bowl games have become a joke because of the opt-outs, and I don't see an end to that. However, Brandon Marcello did talk to bowl season director Nick Carparelli, who said that he thinks that even with the expanded playoff, that bowls are going to grow and that there are going to be more because teams want to make postseason play. They want to use it as a springboard for the next year, which I've balked at constantly. And I push back on that and say, well, why would we have more bowls when the bowls we have right now don't work? And Carparelli points to this revenue sharing model that is starting to pop up in different scenarios where schools and the NCAA are going to rev share with the players. And his suggestion would be that bowls could share their revenue with the players to make sure that they play. And that sounds great in principle. You solve the problem with money because all of this always resorts to money. Players don't play in the bowl game because it might affect the money they could get professionally. So if you can incentivize with money, would more players play? I think the answer is no. Because I don't believe you can offer enough money to each and every player considering to opt out to impact their thought process in terms of turning professional and playing in the NFL. You can't offer enough money to make up for an injury that would derail the beginning of an NFL career. Certainly not with the Christian McCaffreys and Leonard Fournettes of the world. Not with the Jared Verses of the world, who are not going to play in that bowl game because they're going in the first round. And they're getting a guaranteed 4-year contract with a 5th-year option and a signing bonus and millions that come with it. The bowl games can't compete with that. But Purdue's quarterback a couple of years ago, that's not a guy who was going to go in the first round, and he decided not to play. So did their top wide receiver. I'll be completely candid with you. I don't remember either one of their names. I don't know who they play for in the NFL. If they're still in the NFL, I think the Purdue guy may have started a game last year in some weird injury situation, but I don't even care to go look it up. The point remains, because I don't know, the guy's insignificant and was never going to be a top 50 pick in the draft. How much could you give him to make him go out there for 60 minutes to try to forfeit potentially that NFL career if an injury happens? I don't think $100,000 is going to do it. And if you're going to spend $100,000 per player, you're talking about upwards of $16 million between the two teams for every bowl game to pay out. I just don't think that's sustainable. Not with the model right now with the television contracts and the bowl sponsors. There's just, to me, in terms of just the bowl revenue, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And $20,000 ain't going to do it. You're just not going to get guys to risk their ACL for $20,000. So I just don't think the money is there. And you can't just be selective and be like, well, we'll pay you $600,000 to play in this game. Christian McCaffrey, we'll pay you. Orange Bowl, hey, Jared Verse, here's $750,000. Even though I don't even think $750,000 is going to matter to Jared Verse because he knows he's going in the first round if he stays healthy. He can't risk a Jalen Smith type injury. You can't risk becoming. No, it's not. It's Marcus Lattimore. Marshawn's name was in my head from the Saints. Marcus Lattimore from South Carolina. where he tears his ACL a second time and his kneecap's pointing the wrong way and he can't play again. Like, you don't have enough money to make that happen. I just don't see it. Now, I don't claim to be the treasurer of the NCAA or the bowl games. I don't know how much money is available. And if you can jack this up to a degree which I don't believe is possible, then we can have that discussion. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. The fact of the matter is there's too much money at stake in the NFL for these players when a national championship is off the table to go play in the Texas Bowl, to go play in the Independence Bowl, and now even to go play in the Orange Bowl. It just is what it is. And I hate it too, because I loved bowl season. I loved LSU catching that Big Ten matchup or playing in the Sugar Bowl, even if it wasn't a playoff game. Like, that was something to look forward to in December, and it was great. But I also realize that it's gone because it doesn't make sense. I'm thrilled for the players that do want to lace up their cleats and go play one more time. That makes me really happy. I'm not going to sit here and chastise the ones who decide not to, because there's too many dollars at the end of the rainbow. That's it for number one. Our Friday show is brought to you by Corks. We're back talking some more LSU football after this.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram is taking $11,000 off the new 23 Dodge Charger. We're open for business in our beautiful new showroom and taking $11,000 off the powerful new Charger. All new Bayou vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown with breaking news. The Lakers fire head coach Darvin Ham after just 2 years on the job. He had 2 years left on his contract. The Lakers were knocked out of the playoffs by the Nuggets in both seasons under Ham, this year in the first round. ESPN's Adrian Wojnarowski, though, says the Lakers' job is still a good one.
The Lakers are still the Lakers, and they have the opportunity this summer to really improve this team. They've got 3 picks that they can use in trades. And, you know, Darvin Ham, his successor, will be the beneficiary.
Adrian Wojnarowski, tonight we've got a playoff doubleheader on ESPN starting at 7 Eastern with Game 6 for the Magic and Cavaliers. Cleveland leads the series 3-2. Then it's Game 6 for the Clippers and Mavericks with Dallas up 3-2. Coverage of that one also here on ESPN Radio starting at 9 Eastern. There's also a pair of 6 games in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. Canucks and Predators, Vancouver up 3-2. Stars and Golden Knights, Dallas up 3-2 in that series.
As humans, we like having options. One option you might like is speaking with a real person when you call about your credit card. With 24/7 live, U.S.-based customer service from Discover, everyone can talk to a real person anytime, day or night. Limitations apply. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, final hour of the week here on the Hunt Palmer Show. We're presented by Corks Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. I wheeled right on through that drive-through at Corks earlier today. Got myself a little combo platter with fried shrimp and catfish, the crispy shoestring fries, honey butter roll. It was fantastic. I would highly recommend you do the same this afternoon. If you're headed out to the box to tailgate over the weekend, watching the Kentucky Derby and want to check that out with some Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp, you can do it from the folks over at Cork. If you're feeding an office, feeding a birthday party, feeding a big family, a Hester-sized family, you can do that at Cork's over there as well. Appreciate them for bringing you our Friday shows each and every week. I want to kind of level with you, the listener, here during this segment. I consider myself very much like one with all of you that are listening. We're all LSU fans for the most part. We're all Saints fans for the most part. I happen to have this microphone 2 hours a day, and most of you are driving a truck, or you're a CPA or an attorney, or you're a plumber, or whatever the case may be, and you don't work in sports, but you love it. I just happen to work in sports, but we do the same thing on Saturdays. We're living and dying on every pitch, every dribble, every block and tackle. And I am very much in tune with the fan base day to day. I am interactive on Twitter. I'm very active on the On3 message board. I'm over there on Tiger Droppings. I'm going to go to Rouse's from 3 to 5 today. It'll be the same thing. Like, we're all talking about LSU sports and reacting to things good or bad. And I have my opinions and y'all have yours. And I don't think any are better or worse, but I just consider myself one of the gang here. I just happen to have a louder voice 2 hours a day during the weekdays than you do at your normal job. So in saying that, like, I have been in tune to the reaction over the last 24 hours of the news that LSU is likely not to land one of these big-time defensive tackles in the transfer portal. And most of the reaction has been kind of in lockstep. Most of the reaction is, LSU's cheap. Brian Kelly won't spend the money. Why are we so behind in NIL? They're not spending what they need to. This and then, like, that's generally been the reaction. And I understand where those feelings come from. We now live in an era where you don't talk about athletes getting paid under the table. You just talk about what they can make, and it's a huge recruiting inducement, even though by the letter of the law, it's not supposed to be a huge recruiting inducement. But we all know that it is. And when a player chooses to go somewhere else, the first thing anyone jumps to is, why are we spending the money? And I just want to take a step back and just talk for a second about that reaction. Because I'll just speak from my perspective. I have no earthly idea what a defensive tackle in the spring transfer portal is being offered. Not by Oklahoma, not by Texas, not by LSU, not by Miami, not by Georgia. Like, I have no idea. You could tell me it was $105,000. You could tell me it was $920,000. You could tell me it was $1.5 million. Like, I don't know. The only dollar value I know about, I've told you about a couple times on this show. I'm 100% certain that a college athlete had the opportunity, not in Baton Rouge, to go professional. That athlete was given $1.5 million to stay another year and play. So I know that dollar amount exists, but I don't know how that dollar amount for that student athlete at that school translates to a 2-year defensive tackle transferring and taking offers from other schools, to a 1-year defensive tackle, to a quarterback, like to a point guard. Like, I don't know. And so that's the first part of this. The second part is, how do you know that LSU is unwilling to spend or doesn't have the money, especially if you don't know what the dollar amount is? I just feel like there's so much unknown, and Joe Fan is just very quick to go, well, we just won't spend the money. Maybe. I don't know who's calling that shot. I don't know if it's the boosters. I don't know if it's the collective. I don't know if there's extra money in the collective that they're not willing to spend. I don't know if there's not enough money in the collective. I don't know if it's Brian Kelly acting like the general manager who decides this guy's worth this and this guy's worth that. Don't spend this, don't worth that. I don't know what the inner workings are, and I feel like if I have no idea, it seems a little bit far-fetched that all these fans who follow this with as much passion as I do, and I love that, know exactly what's going on, and then, therefore, what reaction to have to it. I'm just coming to it from a place of a lack of knowledge and uncertainty. And it feels like so many people are so certain they understand the inner workings of this thing. If you start to revenue share and you know how much money's in the coffers, then we can analyze it. I'm very comfortable analyzing what the Saints spend on a linebacker in free agency because I know what the salary cap is, and I know what the contract is, and I know what dead money would be, and I understand how all that works. This is all behind closed doors. How do we know how to react to something that's behind closed doors? And I would suggest, like, it's not that much different in terms of the end result than what we were dealing with 15 years ago. There was always money kind of being passed around here or there, and the reaction was always the same at that point, too. It was like, oh, clearly USC came with the bag. Nope, A&M came with the bag. There's an Alabama Mercedes. Like, that was always the reaction, too. And now that it's legal, everyone just seems more sure of themselves. And I'm just sitting here telling you, like, I don't know. How do I know what Oklahoma offered Dominic Williams? How do I know that LSU knew that? And how do I know why they made their decision? Whether they had the money and didn't feel like it was worth spending, or didn't have the money? And how do I know where the money came from? Maybe the booster said I'm not cutting the check. Maybe Brian Kelly said I'm not cutting the check. I don't know. Like, there's too much uncertainty for me to just run to the keyboard and eviscerate everyone involved when I don't have any information. That's what makes it hard. And for some, they're saying, well, it's ruined college athletics for me. And for some say, well, we got to get the collective in better shape. Some people are yelling about Austin Thomas. Some people are yelling about Brian Kelly. Some people are crying poor. I know this. oftentimes when LSU pulls in Bryce Underwood, I hear, man, what a job by Joe Sloan. Incredible work. Fostered that relationship. Awesome job by Brian Kelly. Great job. I haven't seen a lot online when they land Bryce Underwood or DeCorian Moore, everybody going, how about that collective, baby? Drop the bag on them. It just feels like that reaction is more visceral when it doesn't go your way. LSU is doing phenomenally well in the high school recruiting ranks. That's indisputable. In-state, locking up 8 of the top 10 this past year, 9 of the top 10. Already got Harlan Berry in, looking good for next year in-state and out-of-state. With I mentioned DeCorian Moore and Bryce Underwood, like clearly something in place is working. It just maybe doesn't work with Simeon Barrow and with TCU's defensive tackle, whose name immediately escapes my mind, even though I've said it twice in this segment. Like, you're just going to win some and lose some. It's just the way recruiting has been and always will be. Nobody's winning them all. And if you lose them all, you're not allowed very much, but LSU is not losing them all. I'm petrified at the state of the defensive tackle room. Petrified. It is a bad spot. And I wish that they had addressed this with one of these guys. But I have a hard time suggesting the entire system is a disaster when they're doing so well in high school recruiting. They've done so well in the state. They have had some hits in the transfer portal. They just really needed to get this addressed, and it hasn't quite happened. And I find that I'm seeing a lot of people whose opinions are no better or worse than mine, but are very strong about things that I feel like most of us don't understand the inner workings of. And that's something that I have a hard time getting on board with. So look, again, I'm not super fired up about it, but I think LSU's going to be okay in this new world of NIL. Now, when we get to revenue sharing, we'll see how that changes things, but right now it feels like LSU is prioritizing high school players, and they're recruiting damn good ones. And the retention rate on those really good high school players is pretty good. There's always going to be a Lance Hurd here or there. That happens at Alabama, happens at Ohio State, happens at Texas, happens at A&M. It's just, I don't know. I'm not as visceral with my reaction as a lot of people seem to be. I don't mean this to come off as like preachy. I'm just kind of giving my thoughts on this entire matter. I hope they land a defensive tackle because I'm terrified of where things are. But I don't think the entire system is just shot for LSU football. We'll see. We'll pause for a timeout here. When we come back, Ryan Brauninger covers Texas A&M for TexAgs.com. They are the number 1 team in the nation. We'll get his thoughts on the Ags visiting the Tigers coming up next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Visit us at LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino this spring for all the hoops and hockey playoff action. We got the biggest screens, the best food and drink, plus giving away PIN cash bonuses and prizes to PIN Play Rewards members. If you're not a member, no big deal. Just join today by downloading and registering for the PIN Play app from the App Store. Unlock all the fun, including a chance to win up to $2,000 in PIN cash. All this and more. Make LeBear's Baton Rouge Casino your spring sports viewing headquarters. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
He's here. Anyone want a Coors Light?
Oh, shoot, I forgot to play the song. I got a guy who can fix this.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto.
Charles Hanniger Jones for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from the Queen Casino downtown Baton Rouge. We're recapping the weekend, LSU baseball, the NBA playoffs, and the Kentucky Derby. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Shout out to the folks over at Corks. Love telling you about our friends there. If you're headed out to the box or got a watch party this weekend, get some of that crispy fried catfish, also jumbo Gulf shrimp, and they also have fantastic po' boys over there at Corks. A lot of people always say, like, where's a great place to get a po' boy in Baton Rouge? Don't forget our friends over at Corks. I can do a shrimp po' boy, which is awesome. I can do a catfish po' boy, which is awesome. Or you can do the combination po' boy with both. Now we're talking. That's good stuff over there at Corks. You know, I'm going to try to link up with Ryan Broniger here of TexAgs.com, but while we're working on that, I want to talk about Gage Jump tonight because I feel like he's going to be a huge key to this team over the last 3 weeks. And a lot of people have said, like, they're not going to win 2 out of 3 against Texas A&M. They're going to have trouble at Bama. They can't sweep Ole Miss. They haven't been consistent enough. Like, they're already too far gone. And the truth of the matter is, like, if all that happens, then there's no real reason to have any sort of conversation. Like, if that happens, then who cares? The only interest we have is if they can get it figured out and make things interesting and get into the postseason and see if they can do something in a regional. That's the only interesting thing here that's left. And Gage Jump is going to have to be a big part of them trying to make it interesting because they don't have enough good bullpen guys to make this work over 3 games. They need Holman and Jump to be dudes. And over the last 2 weeks, Jump has been a dude. But Mississippi State is atrocious, and Auburn is atrocious. Sorry, Missouri is atrocious. Auburn is atrocious. And A&M very much not atrocious. So we'll see what Gage Jump can do against the #1 team in the land tonight at the box at 7 o'clock. Ryan Broniger covers Texas A&M for TexAgs. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Ryan, thanks for the time. How are you?
I'm good, man. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure. Are you surprised that Texas A&M is ranked #1 in the country in the first week of May, knowing what you knew back in January?
That's a good question. I would say no. I mean, the biggest question that we had coming into the season was, what was the pitching going to look like? I had a pretty good idea that the offense was going to be, as good as we've seen it under Jim Schlossnagle. You talk to folks around the program and folks that have been around the SEC and around college baseball. for quite a long time, and they're saying, hey, like this offensively, this team could be a juggernaut and as good as we've seen around these parts in quite some time. And then you start passing that through professional baseball and the scouts and all that kind of stuff, and it was kind of echoed throughout that world as well. So I had a good idea that the offense was going to be pretty potent. We just didn't know what the pitching was going to look like under new pitching coach Max Weiner. That's obviously taken a huge turn in the right direction for A&M and has been really the catalyst for why this team has not only gotten number one, but has some staying power there.
Well, let's talk about the pitching. Then Ryan Prager misses last year, and you look at the numbers on the whole for the year, and they're fantastic. And some of the outings have been fantastic. Mississippi State, he was sensational, no earned runs in 6 1/3 against Vanderbilt. He dominated them for 7 shutout innings. And there have been some bumpy outings. Florida, Alabama come to mind as ones that weren't quite as clean. What's the difference between good Ryan Prager and bumpy Ryan Prager?
So one of the things that with Prager is like he is the most even-keeled, cool customer that you could ever ask for in a Friday night guy. And he's not going to get too high if he's doing good, and he's not going to get too down if he's doing bad. He's pretty much the same guy. So from the mentality and demeanor perspective, he's exactly what you want on Friday night. But where he's gotten into a little bit of trouble, and like you said, it was against Florida and Bama, and that's really about it, is he's not walking people. Like, he never has issues walking people. It's just whenever he's not sharp with his fastball command, and then maybe that slider that he's been so good with this year, maybe it's not taking that hard right turn like it normally does. And whenever he gets into those scenarios, and when we've seen that, it's usually, pretty early. Like Florida beat him up early. Alabama beat him up early. South Carolina, really, they got to him in the first inning, but then they allowed him to settle in, and he ended up going like 7 or 8 in Columbia. So he's going to give A&M a chance because he's going to throw the ball over the plate, whether he's good or bad. And I think that has been a mentality shift in the pitching overall this year, and he's really led from the front. Is just throw it over the plate, and we can live with the results from there.
To me, A&M's bullpen has been so good this year, led by Oschenbeck, and they finally found something in Cortez in his third year in the program. So what's the expectation for Prager and Lampkin? How many innings would they like them to go before they hand it to the bullpen?
If you're asking Jim Schlossnagle, as many as they can give him.
Sure.
Because, there are some really good options in the bullpen. The bullpen's very versatile. They'll come at you with a couple of sidearm submarine guys from the right-hand side. They've got some big-armed left-handers down there now with the emergence of freshman Caden Wilson, and then kind of the reemergence within the year of Shane Sadeo. You mentioned Chris Cortez. It's been up to 101 with, a lot of life and late sink. But I still think, what Jim Schlossnagle would like would be to hand the ball to Evan Oschenbeck or Chris Cortez in the 7th inning with a lead, and then he'd feel really good about the Aggies coming out of that game with a victory. And he always says, he said it multiple times this season, the biggest decision I make is when to pitch Evan Oschenbeck within the confines of a series. And so, when you see number 53 trot out there from A&M, that's going to be, he's always going to fire the bullet he's got to try to win a game. And if he's got a lead in the 6th or 7th inning, Evan Oschenbeck is that bullet. So he's not going to be afraid to run him out there, even if it's A&M's got a 5 or 6 run lead, or he comes in a tight game and A&M extends the lead. He leaves Oschenbeck in there because he knows the value of locking down SEC wins.
I mentioned at the top of my show, Oschenbeck has pitched in 19 games. A&M is 18-1 in those games, and the one loss is against Georgia, and he threw 2 shutout innings. So it was not his fault they didn't get that done. What makes him so good? Because I was telling my listenership in the first segment, you're going to be a little frustrated because it's not going to crack 90. It looks like Chris Cotton from LSU about a decade ago. It's just a lot of strikes from the left side, but it's no fluke because he's done it for 2 years now.
Yeah, and it's almost Tom Glavine-like. I think that's the best comparison the A&M fan base has come up with. It's almost like Tom Glavine coming out of the bullpen. The fastball is going to be 88 to 92, but he gets so many swings and misses on the fastball. It's crazy. And you go back and he even did it to Dylan Cruz in Hoover last year in the SEC tournament in a big spot in that game. He threw a fastball almost down the heart of the plate to Dylan Cruz, and he swung through it, which you never, ever see Dylan Cruz do that against 98, much less 88 to 90. And so the fastball plays up. Everything he throws is a strike. Man, he's gone on multiple streaks this year in outings where he's thrown like 17, 18, 19 straight strikes. So he just fills it up. The changeup has become a real weapon. It's something that he's worked on the shape of it with Max Weiner. He's kind of retooled that pitch, and it's become a real weapon for him to get some swing and miss late against right-handers. And he's not scared to throw 3-0 breaking ball, 3-0 changeup, 3-1 slider. So every pitch is available in every count for Evan. And it's almost like now it's his reputation's kind of got a life of its own, because these guys, they come in the box and you see them overswing and try to do too much, and that really plays to what Evan wants to do to opposing hitters.
Gavin Grahovic's been an incredible freshman for the Aggies. I know he was banged up a little bit last week. Can you give us a report on him entering the weekend?
Yeah, so he had an MRI on Monday that came back clean, negative, nothing on the knee that would worry them long term. So it was just about how he felt during the week. They set him out in the midweek against Tarleton. For everything I've heard, I fully anticipate him being in the lineup tonight and being full go. I think if A&M was playing a regional game on Tuesday night, I think he would have been in there for that. So it was good to see a backup in Caden Kent come off the bench and have a pair of hits and a big 3 RBI double in that game. Kind of speaks to the depth of this roster. But, Gavin has been he's likely the SEC Freshman of the Year as a position player, and the Aggies need him there at the top of the order. Not only set the table for guys like Lavalette and Montgomery, but also to drive some runs in.
What's more impressive to you as you watch this team, the star power with Lavalette and Montgomery in the year they've had, or the depth of the lineup?
Well, it's hard not to say that it's the top three, because that's what grabs your attention. That's what we've said all year, man. It's like anybody, even the baseball novice, can go to the ballpark and you can just look physically at Gavin Grahovic, Jace Lavalette, and Braden Montgomery and go, okay, those guys look different. And the star power kind of grabs your attention. But where we've seen it happen so often this year is like after somebody gets through Braden in the 3-hole, it's like they almost relax. And then the next 3 hitters in the A&M order, really the next 4. So it's Jackson Appel, it's Teddy Burton, and then it is Hayden Schott, followed by Ali Camarillo. Those are all transfers. The first 3 of those are grad transfers with hundreds and hundreds of college at-bats under their belt, and successful college at-bats. They've all been, 2 of those came from the Ivy, 1 came from the Big Ten, and they've all been successful in previous stops, all-conference selections, double-digit homers, double-digit doubles. They played in regionals and been effective in those. So it's almost like that the middle part of that order gets slept on, and that's where A&M has done that's where they have exploded and really beat people and overwhelmed people, is that you get big hits from Appel, Burton, and Schott, and then on top of whatever you're getting from Grahovic, Montgomery, and Lavalette, it just makes it tough to deal with.
Ryan, we appreciate the time on this Friday. Enjoy the baseball this weekend.
Thank you, man.
He's Ryan Broniger, Texas A&M recruiting and baseball analyst for TexAgs.com over there in College Station. It's a good baseball team. There are no two ways about it. It starts with the star power up top, and then there's a lot of vets in the back end. LSU's going to have to try to score to keep up, and you've got to try to score, I think, off of this A&M starting rotation. I've told you about it for 2 days now, and my opinion has not changed. It's a good team, but look, this is something that a lot of people have brought up over the last couple of days. Like, it's a baseball series. Last year, LSU was as good as anybody in the country, probably the best team in the country. Auburn and Mississippi State beat them 2 out of 3. A&M's only lost 1 series all year. It was in Gainesville in the SEC opener. They've rattled off 6 in a row since then. Might be a good time for somebody to catch them. Hopefully that's the Tigers this weekend, starting at 7 o'clock at the box tonight. It'll be Chris Blair and Doug Thompson on the call. If you want to listen, you can on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame will start up at 6:30 p.m. Our baseball breakdowns all season long are brought to you by Pluckers. When we come back, some Saints news. They did not pick up an option. What does that mean moving forward for a former Saints draft pick? That's next.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Power up your next project with John Deere Deals by Sunshine. Whether you're working hard or playing hard, our knowledgeable team will help you find the right product for you. Ask us about our amazing tractor package promotions. Learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Friday's AFR, presented by Don Juan Cigar Bar. Rico Payton, Saints rookie, he'll be here. Get you set for LSU Texas A&M at the box, and it's transfer portal decision day for some big targets. Join us 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Winding things down here, 30 minutes to go on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. I will be hanging out at Rouse's Burbank and Lee from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock this afternoon. Got gift cards, got cups, hats, koozies. What else we got? We got keychains, shirts. Always a good time. So if you're doing your weekend grocery shopping, highly suggest you get on by Rouse's Burbank and Lee and come see me between 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock. We'll have the big ESPN van out there, and would love to see some of you listeners hanging out from 3 to 5 this afternoon. Let's talk about the New Orleans Saints here. As some news breaking earlier today, the Saints have declined the 5th-year option on former first-round pick Peyton Turner. Now, this should come as no surprise to anyone because Peyton Turner never plays any football. It's not necessarily his fault. He's just not able to stay healthy ever. The Saints used a late first-round selection on him in the 2021 draft, and he came in and was only able to play 5 games as a rookie. He had 1 sack that year and made 12 total tackles. Came back the following year in 2022 and played 8 games, about half the season for Peyton Turner. 2 sacks, 16 combined tackles. And then last year played the first game of the year. Good start. Played the last game of the year. That's good that you stayed healthy. Oh, no, you didn't stay healthy. You didn't play any of the games between the first game and the last game. It's just been one injury after the next, after the next, after the next for Peyton Turner. And declining this option is an absolute no-brainer. I don't think Peyton Turner will take offense to that in any way. I don't think anyone could objectively look at this situation and suggest the Saints would even consider picking up the final option. Now, last year in August, we did hear, Peyton Turner's kind of making some plays at camp. Got in the backfield, got a couple of sacks. Maybe Penning's not that great, but he's doing okay. This is kind of the guy they thought they drafted. Then he played in the first game, and then he didn't play again for 3 months. And so that's just the situation where things are. And as you look at the 2024 New Orleans Saints, you've got Cam Jordan on one end. You've got Carl Granderson on the other end. You have signed Chase Young to play for a year. You've got Tano Passanio as well. Isaiah Foskey was a second-round pick. And you toss Peyton Turner in, and that's basically your sixth-man depth chart on the edges of your defense. Take it or leave it, that's what it is. But if you've been listening to me for the last month and a half, you have heard me say the same thing over and over and over again. And guess what? I'm going to say it again today. This decision, as obvious as it might be, once again, does not harm the 2025 or 2026 Saints. I am always, when I'm dealing with the Saints in this offseason, considering the next really good Saints team. Peyton Turner is not on that team, and I don't want any of his money being tied up while I'm trying to create this team. So, you're at a situation where if Peyton Turner goes out there this year and he plays in 17 games and he has 11 sacks and he becomes a second-team All-Pro, well, he's a free agent. If you want to sign him, you can do that. You can get in line with everybody else, but you can do that. But to this point, I'm not in any situation to tie up any money beyond this coming football season with Peyton Turner. And that's a very, very obvious thing. And as I look at this group for this coming season, if we're just talking about the 2024 Saints, because you can't get in my headspace, you bleed black and gold, you love the New Orleans Saints, and you want them to win the Super Bowl this year. I'm not telling you not to think that way. And so we'll humor that thought by looking at what they've got on the edge, and is what I just mentioned. Cam Jordan is past his prime. Can he play a little bit better than he did last year? Maybe. I doubt it, but maybe. Could Chase Young have an 8-9 sack season? Absolutely. Could Carl Granderson have a 10-sack season? Absolutely. Would I bet on it? Maybe with Granderson, not necessarily with Young. Got to see what he looks like in camp after missing all that time with the neck injury. And what is Isaiah Foskey? I don't know. I'm willing to take a look at him in camp, in the preseason, and we'll see where things stand. But you've got plenty of numbers here. You've got some pros, you've got some vets, and you've got at least one guy in Granderson that you feel like has his best football in front of him. But you don't do anything to mortgage your future with Peyton Turner, and you hope all of a sudden that he turns it on this year to help the 2024 Saints, and then it's likely, well, we missed on that one. This entire thing, decision after decision, as obvious again as this was, is satisfying to me as I analyze the moves of the New Orleans Saints, and it signals a shift in what they're looking at as a franchise. We've so often seen contracts extended past where they need to be so you can move money off the books into later years and convert it into signing bonus and manipulate the cap and do all those kinds of things. And this year we just haven't seen that. 1-year deal here, 1-year deal there. Keep the deal at a year right now. It's all been done looking at 2024 and cutting it off right there. And as difficult as that may be for Dennis Allen, who there are no guarantees he's here after 2024, it's the right thing for the New Orleans Saints. And if you were to ask most of the people that work at this radio station, not that we're all knowing, but our opinions, it may not be a terrible thing if Dennis Allen is not the head coach in 2025, because I don't think he's done a great job over the last couple years. So all of this is refreshing, I think, as an organization. And I had so many negative feelings and thoughts that they would not change, that they would continue to trade up, that they would continue to overreach in terms of years on contracts to have room to spread the money out. And they haven't done that. And so as negative as I've been, really dating back to Halloween of last year, when it looked like all of a sudden in 2023, okay, things are going south. And I started speaking negatively about the direction of the organization. That's kind of been my tenor since then. But I've changed over the last 2 months based on how they've handled the offseason. And you've got to start with roster composition in this league. And the Saints roster right now is composed in a way that makes it very difficult to improve. Old players, big contracts, tough situation in free agency, that's hard to deal with. But they're doing it the only way you can, and it's just a slower, more painful process. But they're not kicking the can down the road anymore. The Peyton Turner decision is not necessarily indicative of that, because this is just as no-brainer as it gets. But I think that there's reason to believe they can start moving forward in a positive way. Jordan, I've been looking back there. You kind of been nodding your head, kind of been shaking your head. I mean, how are we feeling as you've turned the pages from the Pels and we start looking at the Saints and the decisions they're making here with the draft and with free agency and with some of the contracts that they've got? How do you feel about where we're sitting?
Well, the reason why I was shaking my head and I felt you because it feels like we're in a perpetual cycle at this point.
Have been for 3 years.
Exactly. So we're in this cycle, and we're dropping the fifth-year option on Peyton Turner. So now we're kind of back at square one again. You don't have like the Davenport, the draft 2018.
Bad.
Terrible. He's gone. Peyton Turner's finna be gone.
Bad.
Foskey, who knows? All right. And it's just like
a lot of misses.
It's a lot of misses.
Makes it hard to deal with.
It's a lot of misses. And you're a lot more optimistic than me. Very more optimistic than me, because I'm not giving them my heart again. Y'all got to prove that.
I'm not optimistic about the exact result we're going to see. I'm optimistic about the process that they are starting.
Yes, changes.
They're doing things a little bit differently, and it doesn't mean they're going to get it right. And if you keep, like you're talking about, missing on these picks in the first and second round, you'll never get out of it.
Never.
Because if you can't draft cheap players to start and be really productive for you, you'll never get there. It's not like Major League Baseball where you can be the Yankees and just go sign everybody for all this money. You have to get young, cheap players in a salary cap sport. And if they keep going Davenport and Peyton Turner and Foskey, trouble. But if you got, as I've said, 3 starters out of this draft, and you think that you've hit on 3 starters out of the last draft, we can start to talk about making things better. And whether or not Derek Carr is a part of that, whether or not Dennis Allen's a part of that, we'll see.
And that's where my next problem comes with the Derek Carr and Dennis Allen because when you think about it, you bring all these new players in, cheaper players, cheaper contracts. And it's like putting a new alternator in a 2002 Toyota. All right? Why are we doing this instead of getting a new car? That's why I'm sitting. Yeah, we're using a used car. We need a new car. So,
maybe Spencer Rattler's a brand new car, baby.
I'm looking at him. I'm looking. He's number 18. If you peep, he's number 18. Peyton Manning. So,
Peyton Manning. I'm going to go ahead and lower the bar a little bit on Mr. Rattler there, but we'll see. Not earth-shattering news from New Orleans Saints camp with Peyton Turner's 5th-year option being declined, but we'll see as they start to kind of do things a little bit of a different way down there on Airline Drive. All right, let's take one more time out. That's all we got left is take it or leave it on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Look, we know storm season's around the corner. That's obvious, and it's inevitable every single year. That's not the time to start thinking about a home standby generator. The time to think about that is now. Get that installed before storm season is upon us, so you can have the peace of mind of knowing that your family is going to be in a powered house, whether it's an afternoon shower that comes through and knocks the power out, or whether it's a monster hurricane. And then if it's a hurricane, whether or not you evacuate or you stay, you want that generator running. If you stay, it's obvious. You need that house cooled You need to be comfortable and have all the amenities that you would normally have, even if the power is out. If you evacuate, you don't want to come back to a house that's 94 degrees, that everything in the fridge and freezer is spoiled, and it's an awful place to come back to. No, make sure that generator is running while you're gone so that when you come back, it's like you barely ever left. That's the peace of mind you can give yourself with a generator from Boudreaux's Electric. Neil and Melissa Boudreaux have been running that company for 40 years. Got the location in Napoleonville. New location in Gonzales, opening very, very soon. The number is 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. Call them today and set up an appointment to get that home standby generator installed at your home soon. Storm season is coming. Boudreaux's Electric can help you with that. The phone number again is 985-397-1562. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local.
Charles Haniger joins for the Monday edition of Live at Lunch from the Queen Casino downtown Baton Rouge. We're recapping the weekend, LSU baseball, the NBA playoffs, and the Kentucky Derby. Live at Lunch, 11 a.m. Monday on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp.
Shout out to the folks over at Corks. Medinka Boys brought you Kuyon's Barbecue across the river. Got an awesome seafood shop right here on Government between Foster and Jefferson. CorksFishandShrimp.com is where you can check out the menu. For all your catering needs, Corks can absolutely help you out with that, whether it's a birthday party, feeding the office, a tailgate party. They got you covered over there at Corks. Fantastic food, and our sponsors every single Friday here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Jordan Kittens, we have one more order of business. That is, of course, take it or leave it.
All righty then. So last night during the Bucks' loss to the Pacers, Patrick Beverley threw a ball at a Pacers fan behind the bench twice. Then after the game, he refused to answer questions from a reporter because she didn't subscribe to his podcast. Pat Bev, take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave everything he does. He's just an annoyance. He's somehow managed to become more relevant than he should be. I know he's attached to Barstool. I haven't heard any of that podcast. I've seen some clips on it that have showed up on my Instagram feed and whatnot. You cannot throw balls at the fans. Certainly not throw it a second time. And then the whole thing with, do you subscribe to my podcast, and then not answering her questions is just wildly immature and ridiculous. So many people have come to the defense of the ESPN reporter whose microphone he was knocking out of the way. It's just pathetic, and I feel like Adam Silver really needs to step in here. The stuff that really is in his jurisdiction is the player throwing the ball at the fans twice, and apparently all they were saying was Cancun, meaning the Bucks were gone and were going on vacation. It's just absurd. He's a very immature dude, and I would be fine if he just didn't play anymore, quite frankly.
See, so my thing is, how did he know she wasn't subscribed? Like, how did he
asked her? She was like, have you subscribed to my podcast? She said no, and he goes, all right, then you can't interview me.
Oh, okay.
Which is just utterly absurd
Okay.
for any human to conduct themselves that way. But he's a weird dude.
Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers are declining the fifth-year option on running back Najee Harris. Last season, Harris led the Steelers with 1,000 yards and 8 rushing touchdowns. He's had over 1,000 yards in 3 consecutive seasons, playing in all 51 regular season games. Will running backs ever be valued again? Take it or leave it.
Leave it. I mean, you'll have some taken in the top 15 picks of the draft here or there if you feel like it looks like a talent like Leonard Fournette or Christian McCaffrey, but you may see them valued at 22 years old. At 27 or 28 years old, there's just no chance. They are too easy to find. There are too many guys that are 6'2", 225 that can run to spend a lot of money. I mean, Najee Harris carried the ball a bajillion times at Alabama and has carried the ball because he's been durable a bajillion times with the Steelers. In a salary cap sport, I'm just not going to spend more money on that, and it's not the running back's fault, and it's not the team's fault. It's just the facts. There are too many. We have too much information that says these guys will run out of steam around 27 years old or so. Go get the next one, and so they will.
Yep. Okay, so Bills rookie receiver and Louisiana native Opelousas' very own Keon Coleman recently said in an interview that 50-degree weather in the South is colder than 50-degree weather up north. Take it or leave it.
You know, I'm going to leave it. Like, I don't have a ton of experience. So I've done a little bit of this. I've gone up to New York twice in December, and that is pretty cold, but I find that you can dress for it. I mean, I'm not out there trying to play golf, so it is what it is. I will say this. I've been to Chicago in April. That was miserable. We are all down here in flip-flops and shorts in April. I'm playing golf. You're outside with the kiddo. In April in Chicago, it is 38 and gray and overcast. It is awful. So there are plenty of places where it is cold. Keon Coleman spent two or 3 years in college at Michigan State in East Lansing, so he knows better than me. But I've been in some pretty cold up there up north when it wasn't like -3 degrees. So, yeah, it's not real comfortable down here for me when it's 45 degrees, but it's probably not going to be real comfortable for me in Pittsburgh at 45 degrees either.
Okay. Last but not least. Oh, no, not last but not least. The Kentucky Derby. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. I think it's cool. I would love to go 1 year. I'm not, like, beating down the door to go. And, like, as far as a television broadcast goes, if I realize it's coming on, I will turn it on because it's a 90-second race or whatever it is, and that's fine with me. I'm never going to watch a NASCAR race because that takes, I don't even know, 3 hours or something. I'm never going to watch a Formula One race because I don't really care about that. I'll watch a horses run for 2 minutes. That's fine with me. But I'm more so locked in, like, if there's going to be a Triple Crown. If there's going to be a potential Triple Crown at the Belmont, like, I will watch that. But the Kentucky Derby, I think, is cool. I think it's great if people want to bet on it. I think it's cool if you want to dress up and go to the sporting event. I think that the whole pageantry around it is a cool deal. I hope to go one day. As far as this year goes, I was scanning the list of the horses for some cool names. Not a great year for names in the Derby. The one that I thought was kind of funny was Domestic Product. I thought that was an interesting number. He's, as I look at the screen, 32-1 at this point, so probably not a great bet at this point to win, but not a great Kentucky Derby for horse names.
Yeah, well, Jimmy, he's on some Japanese horse. Okay. Yeah, he's on some Japanese.
Gotta
horse.
be.
So last but not least, the Lakers have parted ways with head coach Darvin Ham. Will LeBron be a player coach? Take it or leave it.
I would take it if I was the Lakers. Why not? If you're going to keep him around. The problem is if they draft Bronny for no reason, because he's not nearly an NBA player, and then he's the player coach, might get Bronny too much playing time at that point, which we don't want to have. But, I mean, how much you paying a NBA coach? A couple million? Does that sound like a going rate? You can save a couple million if you're the ownership group, but just letting LeBron coach him. He's probably better than any coach you're going to hire in terms of basketball IQ and understanding what goes on. Going to be tough to orchestrate substitutions if he's out there running the pick and roll. But I think it's a great idea. I'd go ahead and let LeBron be the player coach. Why not?
I mean, it would be... That would break a lot of barriers.
Baseball did this once upon a time, and I think basketball's done it once upon a time too.
Who did it in baseball?
Somebody did it a long time ago, like in the 50s or something. There were player coaches then. I'd have to go back and look at it, but it's been done. I would let LeBron do it. Why not? He's old. Make it happen. I bet LeBron's older than multiple NBA coaches currently. I would guess.
He's older than Willie Green.
Exactly. Okay, so exactly. He's ready to do it. That's it for Take It or Leave It on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. If you missed any of the show, always catch it on demand. 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, or on YouTube. Preston Guy talking football, Chris Demouy on baseball, Ryan Broniger on the A&M Aggies. Have a great weekend. We're back Monday. Musso is going to drive you home. Come on, Tigers. Get me 2 of 3.
To the Hunt Palmer Show.